Hi guys, this is my Here Comes the Sun layout. I'm going through my Studio Calico Block Party kit, which is the kit for January. I only have the main kit, and so I'm just looking through the papers, and I have this photo which has lots of blues that are not quite the same blue as the greeny blues in the kit. Maybe they're green. So I am sort of looking through the kit, but not seeing a whole lot of things that are gonna work well with this photo. So then I'm looking through my stamps, and I keep my stamps on these cards that I make. I do have a video coming eventually that's going to talk about that, but and then I have those printables from Studio Calico as well. So then I go and get my Fifth and Frolic Dear Lizzie kit, because, or not kit, but the collection. Just because I knew there were some blues that were different than the ones that came in the Studio Calico kit. So you just see me there kind of playing around with different papers and options, and I just showed you how I store them there for a second. And then I have my Echo Park Everyday Eclectic kit, and so I'm pulling out a couple of different options there. I pulled out those 3x4 cards that you can cut apart, and some chevrons and some different triangles and stuff like that. I'm also going to keep the stickers that go with that kit out in the wings, and I pulled out my Dear Lizzie stickers and a couple of Amy Tangerine stickers and a couple of things there. So I'm just kind of laying those way over to the side because I won't be using those until the end. Yeah, so I'm going to start by cutting off the manufacturer's strip from that Dear Lizzie paper with the typewriter at the bottom. That's going to be my background, and I'm going to use that scrap of vellum that I have from another project. Also, that came in the kit, so that's the Studio Calico Block Party kit. All of these other things are from the Dear Lizzie Fifth and Frolic. I'm just layering a couple of different things together. That little journaling card that I stuck in behind there is from the Block Party kit from Studio Calico. So just kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to layer some of these things. And then I decided to use I wanted to use the camera paper because this is a photo that my husband took. It's an HDR, is that what it's called? It's a bunch of photos all with different exposures all layered together so that you can get things that are crisp in the foreground and far away. And lots of detail. So I'm pulling apart the blue twine that came in the Studio Calico kit, and like string, it's just a bunch of little strands that are all twisted together. So I untwisted them and I put them in a ball so that just to make them kind of interesting looking. And figuring out what I'm going to do with all these layers of paper and kind of, I don't know what I'm doing here. Pulling out some wood veneers. I wanted to use arrows as houses in this layout, which is sort of about my street and about this photo. So the sun was coming up and Scott went out. It was a snowy day, and I was actually scrapping this the day that he took the picture. I've got my Studio Calico stamps pulled out. They came with the kit this month, and now I'm going to do some outlining. So I'm just taking a picture of my layers so that I can remember how I had them. And I just opened up a Studio Calico paper bag so that I could do my outlining without going off the edges and ruining my mat. My old mat had tons of marks all over it, so I'm just, trying to not outline on my mat this time. So I just outlined all of the layering papers, not the vellum. I never outline vellum because it looks kind of cool not outlined. I didn't get the layers back the way I had them, and it took me a while to kind of fiddle with it to get it even remotely the same. I don't know what was wrong, but something was at slightly the wrong angle, and yeah, it just was kind of like throwing it off. So you'll just watch me kind of play around with the layers, ungluing them, re-gluing them. Can't make up my mind for this one. It seems so simple, just 3 little pieces layered behind there, but it took me a while to get it. I kind of thought that there wasn't enough vellum showing, so I added another scrap of vellum there so that there'd be a little bit showing. And because I was going to put that camera strip there, I needed to move the vellum so that it would actually show. Glued down the picture finally, and now I'm going to put the strip of camera paper down, and there's my main embellishment finished. Just stapled a piece of vellum underneath that typewriter because that's going to become the base for a couple of other embellishments. Now, yeah, I had to refill my tiny attacher, and my tiny attacher is sort of broken. I can still use it, but the elastic that's inside of it is all stretched out, so it doesn't work properly. It gets caught in things and stuff. So every time I change my staples, it gives me a bit of grief. So that's what I was doing there. I'm going to layer that little ball of twine or unwound, is that even a word? Unraveled twine. And now I'm going to put another arrow that's going to be a house and I'm going to layer a little heart over it. And I just cut a little banner out of some of that pink and white triangle paper that is elsewhere in the layers. It's kind of a big vertical strip of paper. So now I have my cake box out and my sample of mists, and I'm going to use Glimmer Mist on this one. I never use Glimmer Mist, but I have a lot of it from back in the days when I did used to use a lot of it. So this is called Old Lace, and it really just gives like a dirty look. So I did mist it, and I also splattered it, and because I misted it, my whole layout became quite warped. I did not like the way that these splatters showed. I did not like how they kind of go in a line in those two places. And if I had have had another piece of that Dear Lizzie paper, I would be starting over again with that background because I really didn't like that. But I'm going to work around it, or work with it, I guess. And so what I'm doing to kind of take away from the fact that those splatters are so not the way that I want them to be is that I put a little stamp among it, and then I'm going to also stamp some little hearts among it so that it kind of doesn't stand all by itself. And I also am putting the stamps in places that the splatters turned out fine because I don't want it to be kind of like just those stamps in one place. I want them to be spread around the layout. And so now it's not quite so obvious. I mean, it is still obvious. I still don't like the splatters, but I like it better with some stamps around it. So now I'm putting the cluster down and I'm going to trim off the parts that overhang. I'm putting a couple of pop dots every here and there just to make my corners bend up. And now I'm going to I'm going to back this. This is a Lawn Fawn arrow, wood veneer arrow, and I think that's also a Lawn Fawn wood veneer arrow. And I'm just going to, after the glue dried, I cut it so that you couldn't see any vellum showing. So I kind of cut it on an angle so that you wouldn't see any vellum at all. And now I'm going to use my pen to draw a little door and a little window. And then I'm going to put a window on the top. I was a little hesitant. I was going to put something below the window like flower box or something, but I needed to be more plain. So now I did draw on that one and then I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm going to re-glue that onto a plain piece of vellum and not draw inside of it. So that one will be plain. So those are my three houses, and now I have two hearts that I am, oh sorry, it's happening off screen, but I took a Stampin' Up! Dark pink ink and I just ran the wood veneer hearts over them really, really quickly, just so that they look just a little bit stained, not actually colored fully. I like that because you still have the nice wood veneer look to them, but they stand out a little bit. When I'm layering two wood veneers over top of one another, I like them to look different. So that's why I wanted to do that. Just using some glossy accents to get that ball of twine stuck down to the page, and also using glossy accents to stick the house and the heart, which is kind of like a cloud, like I kind of placed it up in the sky behind the house to look a bit cloud-like. And then I just had to use a bit of a pop dot on that heart because it was extending over the edge of the house, just so it wouldn't fall off. And I have those Studio Calico, those are from the kit, chipboard pieces. There are lots of geotags and triangle things and also a couple of sentiments. So I put a sentiment on there, a couple of the arrows, and a geotag. And now I'm looking for some yellow letters for the word sun and some black letters for the rest of the words in my title. So I'm calling this one Here Comes the Sun because it kind of reminded me of that song as soon as I saw it. But also I've been playing a lot of Abbey Road lately in my car, and Abbey Road is my very favorite album, and the street is that we live on is actually called Abbey Road. And so my journaling is about how I, we didn't buy the lot here because it was called Abbey Road, but it certainly didn't hurt that it was called Abbey Road. We were kind of like, when we were deciding between this lot and another lot, we were kind of like, yeah, but we live on Abbey Road if we lived here. So it did come into play a teensy bit, but we also just really, really like this lot. So anyways, I'm writing out the words, here comes the, and then I'm going to put sun in yellow. So I've pretty much decided where my letters are going to be, and then I tried using that boardwalk font, but it was too big and a little bit too bright. I liked the font better than the font that I used, but I didn't like the color so much. So the color of the, I think it's called Nicky Ricky. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Nicky Ricky thickers that I did use. These ones, by the way, are called Fancy, and they're part of the Dear Lizzie collection. And they're cursive foam, and it's easy to cut off the little parts that overlap. And then these stickers here are called Nicky Ricky, and they're in a more subtle yellow. Like they're not as neon as the boardwalk ones are that I had out before. So I'm going to put my stickers away. I use 12 by 6 plastic bags that I got on eBay to keep my thickers in. And then I showed you a little bit of a close-up there for a second. I felt like the title needed a little something in front of the H, so I just put an asterisk there. And now I'm going to use my ruler to draw some journaling lines. I often don't draw journaling lines, but I wanted to here today. I'm using a new teal colored marker that I got. It's just a recollections marker, and I thought it would make a good contrast between the black handwriting and the blue lines. And I wasn't sure how much journaling I was going to do because I was making it up as I went, and so I drew a few lines, did some journaling, drew a few more lines, did a bit more journaling. And I'm going to end up filling up the space entirely. So, and the journaling is just about, you know, how we live on a street called Abbey Road. And there are actually 2 Abbey Roads in my city, so yeah, I'm not giving away where I live or anything because I could live in 2 places. Added a couple of enamel dots there, and then it was done. So there's a close-up of that top cluster, and there's the title, and I really like that. It's that shape that I stamped in pink there. It looks almost like a butterfly slash arrow. I like that shape a lot. So that was a Studio Calico stamp. There's my journaling and some of those splatters that I didn't like so much. And the little cluster in the corner. There's going to be some photos now. So thanks for watching, you guys. If you have any questions or comments, just leave me a comment below.